Welcome to the Realizations Podcast. I'm Andrea Gordon, your host, and I'm excited to explore the world of real estate with you. In a world where perceptions often overshadow reality, Realizations seeks to redefine what it means to be a realtor. Join me as we peel back the layers of the industry, uncovering inspiring stories and celebrating the good in real estate. Whether you're a homeowner, a fellow realtor, or simply curious, this podcast is for you. Welcome to Realizations, where perceptions meet reality. Let's dive right in.
Welcome, everyone, to Realizations. My name is Andrea Gordon. I'm your host, and today I'm very excited to have Dave Seymour with us. He's going to talk to us about multifamily investment, how you do it, what's involved, tell us a little bit about what his company does. And the way this fits into the podcast is that as you know, I have a bent about people not understanding real estate and everything that's involved and all the complexities of it and who we are. And, I guess I'm kind of like Rodney Dangerfield. I want respect for what we do. And after those NAR DOJ lawsuits and the commission lawsuits, I realized that part of the problem with public perception is that we've done a very bad job of letting people know what all is involved in real estate. And there's so much. And I just want to introduce everybody to all the facets, because you may be a young agent out there thinking what your next step is. You may decide to go into commercial. You may decide to go into residential. You may decide to become an investor. You may decide to become an appraiser. You may decide that real estate's not for you, but that you're interested in it because of the major portion of the economy that it serves. So welcome to the show today, Dave. I really appreciate you being here.
No, you're welcome. I love that context, by the way. I appreciate that. It's so important. Look, from an investor and an education standpoint or position, the words that I grabbed a hold of that you used right there, the misunderstanding in real estate, the false perceptions, the guarantees that are not guarantees, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, whether we're talking about a retail transaction, Mr. and Mrs. Smith buy, Mr. and Mrs. Jones sell, whatever that looks like. All of the nuances inside of that then, they manifest throughout. It's amazing how, like you said, it owns such a huge portion of our economy. And yet if you and I went out on the street right now and we asked 10 people some of the basic fundamental understandings of a real estate transaction, they have no idea. They'd have no idea, which is kind of scary. It's kind of scary when you think about it.
And they wouldn't care unless it related directly to them, unfortunately.
Yes.
And people don't, that's the thing. I mean, our cities are almost completely funded at this point by real estate through property taxes. So many of the services we count on that we're dependent on are caused by real estate transactions. And people don't get that. And in terms of, I don't mind that they don't understand all the ins and outs of a real estate transaction, but these reality television shows have not done us any favors, because
I agree.
They think we just drive around in Cadillacs and eat champagne or drink champagne and eat caviar and we don't really do anything, and that we squabble with each other. And that is so not the case. In fact, real estate is one of the most collegial professions a person can get into. Everybody helps everybody else. Everybody wants everybody to succeed. There's enough business for everybody. There isn't all of this drama and angst that you see on TV. There's just a lot of really hardworking professionals doing what they do. So let's talk about you. Now, you teach people how to understand and do multifamily real estate investment. So you have an educational wing to what you do, but you also raise capital for the investment side of what you do. And I am how many investors do you have in your business that branch?
Currently we've probably got in our database, there's probably north of 6,000 to 7,000 investors.
Wow.
Active investors, probably a couple of hundred.
Okay.
Which is kind of interesting, because once you get some good consistency with an investor, having that smaller number is pretty adequate, because you got to remember our investors, one, need to be accredited, and number two, they're only coming in the equity position of a transaction. So they're only coming in on the money down, which is a smaller portion of the in the capital tax. So it's been an interesting journey, because I my bones in the single family business. Working with agents, I broke my bones during the crash when everybody was running away. We were running in. So yeah, that's our business model today. The more that we can teach, the more educated an investor becomes, the better partner they are for us. It's an uneducated investor who writes a check and doesn't understand the exposure, doesn't understand the upside, doesn't understand what's going on. They become a drain rather than a radiator to the business. So just because somebody can write a check doesn't mean that their check is welcome. And I don't mean that in a cocky or ignorant manner. I just mean it in good business sense, right?
Yeah.
Who you align yourself with. And you said something just now, Andrea, that I absolutely loved. I've taught it on stages and live events all over the world, is that real estate for me is the only business I know where it's more about collaboration than it is competition.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
And people don't seem to understand that, right? I did a reality TV show. We did a flipping show, right? Flipping Boston. So I played the reality TV game on A&E. But the $1 million.
Oh, it's on A&E. Good for you.
Oh yeah. We were the real deal. I was a hero. Just ask me. But what was really interesting is, like you said, the $1 million list in LA, $1 million list in New York, $1 million list in here. Housewives are this, Star Wives are that. It's embarrassing. Okay, it is embarrassing. That is the consumption that people seek out.
Right.
Get off of the couch, you donkey, and get in the real world.
Okay. Although I was listening to John Oliver the other day on Colbert, and he was talking about the Real Housewives, some part of Florida. I don't know what it was. And I was, if John Oliver's that obsessed with it, maybe I should take a look. I've never looked at
don't.
I've never looked at a single one of those shows, nor have I ever looked at the Kardashians. So there you go.
No, do not numb your intelligence by watching that stuff. And if John Oliver's making commentary on it, John Oliver is making commentary on it only because everybody else is making commentary on it.
Right.
It's not a level of intelligence. It's not a level of integrity. It's not a level of anything other than mind-numbing consumption. Now, remember, I came from a reality TV world. They followed us around with a camera for 4.5 years in Boston as we purchased, rehabbed, and sold houses. But the only thing that we held on to as much as we could in that crazy world of reality TV was our integrity. When we purchased a property, we'd have a closing disclosure available. When we rehabbed the property, we deducted any free stuff that was given to us.
Right.
When we sold the property, if by the time of airing we could prove a profit, we put a profit on there. But we would also comment on the amount of time that it took.
Right.
Dear God, you're not making $50,000 in an hour flipping a house in the Boston market. But yeah, it's amazing how our culture works. And I'll jump off of this soapbox in a second. But the executive producer at A&E Network, I was at a dinner with her in New York, and the team was meeting. It was new for us. I was working as a firefighter, and I'm doing this reality TV show. But anyway, I'm in New York, and she said something, and it was Duck Dynasty was the show that was a real big deal at that time. And I said to this woman, I said, "What's with Duck Dynasty?" I said, "I don't get it." She said, "America wants popcorn television." Yeah. And what she meant by that was, and the shows that you're referring to, the real estate shows with the high-end realtors, it's the same thing. She said, popcorn television. America wants to start watching a show, go make a bag of popcorn, come back, and not have missed anything of any relevance or importance. And I went, what a shame. What a shame.
Yeah, I know one friend of mine referred to them as chunks of meat. So
yeah. No, I get it. I get it for sure.
It's an interesting thing. The attention span that most people have is very short, and you have to give them little bites of things. And and you can't be too complicated. And the thing is that there are levels of complexity in what we do, what you do, that are hard to describe to people until you get into them. For example, in our area, we have rent control. I don't know about Boston. Does Boston have rent control?
It does have some areas of rent control. It's nothing like some of the other major cities in the country, but it has components.
I'm in Berkeley, and I sell in Berkeley, San Francisco, and the rent control is draconian. Also, you have a voting populace who are largely transient in Berkeley, who are students, and they really want everything for the tenant. Consequently, we have rent control that basically makes you an indentured servant to your tenants if you are a landlord. And you have to advocate very, very strongly for property rights. And you have to advocate very, very strongly for fairness to landlords, because
Sure.
otherwise we'll do things like what they did in the Bronx and what they did in San Jose recently, where they voted out the ability of a landlord to pass capital improvements along to their tenants. Now, if somebody doesn't know what that means, what it means is that ultimately a landlord will not maintain their property because it's too expensive, and it doesn't benefit them because they can't get the tenants out who are paying substandard rents anyway.
If they pay at all.
Yeah. And during COVID, there were a lot of, I actually had to sell a 6-unit building with my sister during COVID because we couldn't deal with it. There was one guy who was like the ringleader, and he decided not to pay rent and convinced everybody else in the building not to pay rent, even though my sister had been an incredible landlord, and basically devalued the building to almost nothing because we couldn't make any rents there. And, I was just an investment partner, but my sister was dealing with it on a day-to-day basis, and we sold at a loss, which was crazy.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. COVID threw a massive, massive monkey wrench to the whole ecosystem. Who on earth ever would have thought that not paying rent was okay? Whoever would have thought that not paying mortgage debt was okay? Like, the country went a little crazy. Let's just be frank, okay?
No, absolutely. And
went a little crazy.
And at a certain point, it was incredibly damaging to a lot of people, like me being case in point, and my sister. So that's a level of complexity. Then if you're a novice purchaser and you just go out with agent ABC that you meet at, through some online lead gen place who's been working for like 3 months, you're not going to be getting somebody who understands how to help you in that situation because they've never been there before. They don't know. So I'm fascinated. You told us that you were a firefighter and you were doing a reality television show.
Yeah.
And setting up this business. Tell me a little bit more about that.
Yeah, I'll make a long story very short. I came from England originally. I was born in London. I immigrated to the States. There's a little accent. Yeah, a little accent still in it. I came to the States in '86 with, just a blue collar mentality. And I don't mean that in any derogatory manner, but, with that comes financial illiteracy. I didn't understand money, didn't understand how it worked. Long story short, I was working with the fire department here in Massachusetts. I did 16 years as a firefighter and a paramedic. And during that period of time, I was married. Thank you. During that period of time, I was married to 2 young boys, and I was working 3 full-time jobs to be able to make ends meet. Because if I, reframe again, financial illiteracy, MasterCard and Visa were my very, very best friends. Keeping up with the Joneses, making sure everything looked fantastic on the outside. And my home was in pre-foreclosure. This was going into the crash period. I ran a small construction company on my days off, me and a couple of other guys in the fire department. And then I was working a third job in retail, packaging out that beautiful 120 hours a week and still not being able to make ends meet. And, the predatory... Yeah, the American dream turned into the American nightmare. But the predatory lending environment back then, and my ears always perk up because I just heard a couple of commercials on the way to work today. Rocket Mortgage, Mortgage, right? Rocket's back. Rocket's only back when interest rates go down and values are up. That's the only time Rocket is spending their marketing money. Anyway, I was a victim of that. I refinanced my primary residence 3 times in 18 months.
Oh, wow.
Because I was a firefighter. You deserve it, Dave. You're a good guy. You work hard. You serve the community. Take 110% of your property's value. It's okay.
Yep.
Ignorance has a high price to pay. I don't care who you are.
Yep.
And I paid that price, Andrea. I really did. My house was in pre-foreclosure. I didn't know what to do, to be frank with you. So I'm a man of faith. I'm praying to my big guy, and I'm like, I've done everything my father told me. I don't lie, cheat, or steal. Help me out. What the heck is going on? What do I need? Come on, Lord, help me. I'm like, I was a desperate guy. I kind of say it in a humorous manner, but it was a very, very dark time for me.
Sure.
Anyway, I was sitting in my truck. Nothing was happening. I turned the ignition in my truck. I'm going to go home and tell my wife we got to go. And a commercial came on the radio, and it was Teach Me Foreclosure, a free 1.5-hour seminar coming to your neck of the woods. Learn how to do real estate with no money down. And it was a moment I know today was divine intervention. And I took a leap of faith. And I'm a product of the seminar world. You've had them in San Francisco. We have them in, every state in the country. And I was part of that for a long time because as a student, I didn't second guess somebody else's expertise. If you give me a nugget of information about rent control in the San Francisco market, and I live in Boston, and you're active in that market, investing, buying, selling in the business 24/7, why would I question you? Yeah, but my uncle says. Oh, no, Andrea says, right? So I took that information almost in a militaristic type setting. I liked the structure of the fire department, and that's what I did. And I learned the reps. I did the repetitions, and I was wholesaling single family bank owned properties when everybody said you can't do it. They said it's illegal. Nobody knew what the hell was going on when the market tanked. Nobody knew. Go ahead.
I actually have a client not a client, a friend who lives in the city of Alameda. House was foreclosed on, but during that time period, the loan was sold like 3 or 4 times.
Oh, yeah.
And when it was sold 3 or 4 times, lost her. And she has not paid a mortgage payment since 2008.
Man, it was an absolute mess. I have video footage. I have video footage of almost mini riots outside houses because we auction. You really got to see the separation of the
I did a lot of REOs. I had a stove thrown at me down a set of stairs by a former owner. The guy was standing up at the top of the steps. I'm on my cell phone to the bank because I was working for Wachovia Bank at the time, doing a lot of REOs.
Oh, Wachovia had a ton. God bless you.
And so I'm like, what am I supposed to do? He's throwing the stove down the stairs. And the guy goes, run like hell.
Yeah, it was bad. And then from there, we found the professional tenants.
Yeah.
And the professional tenants started to move. They'd look up pre-foreclosure assets, move in. The landlord would collect the rents, not pay the mortgage. The tenant would sit there until a realtor like yourself would show up with cash for keys. The more babies they had, the more cash for keys they got. So I learned this business in the trenches, where I learned it.
And, you've got to have compassion for people that were not doing financially well, of course. Sure. But nobody ever everybody always thinks of the landlords and the realtors and the banks as evil. And the reality is they're not. They're not.
No, they're not. Look, I have an opinion and I don't mind sharing it. There is definitely a hierarchy. And it's not necessarily run by people who are looking out for other people, right? There's a street in New York where a lot of that business was done, okay? And when they all exited with great big bonuses, including Jamie Dimon and the rest of those guys.
Right.
No. Massive felons. You and I are out here, no matter what level we're out here trying to put people first and profit second. Because if I do that, I got a pretty good chance of being okay. Exactly. If I start on the other side of the equation, I put profits first and people second, then terrible things happen. And they're going to happen again, and I don't have the power to change it, neither do you. But I will say we have the power to work within those structures and learn how to do good work and make great money along the way. And that was kind of the philosophy that we had. And the journey took off from there. I became known as one of the top distressed asset investors here in Massachusetts. That recognized me as a guy to do a TV show. Then we did the TV show, and it took off from there because now I'm on TV. I must be an expert, right? I must be brilliant.
Well, and you probably were, and it was the one time they got it right.
Thank you.
So how do you think that the TV show really promoted your career in many ways?
Yeah, of course. Of course it does. Why are we doing a podcast? We create a platform to share our expertise through good conversation. I've learned more about you in the past 15, 20 minutes than I ever would have. I now have I have a resource in San Francisco if I come to San Francisco. Exactly. Hopefully you would use me as a resource in Southwest Florida where we invest, or Boston. So having that moniker of the TV show, it absolutely opened up doors for me that probably would have been a lot harder if never been able to open. Now, did I leverage it well? I don't think so. I leveraged it with my conscience.
Right.
To be frank with you, I leveraged it with whatever integrity I could carry. There's a massive opportunity to see a lot of dollar bills in that world. And, let's go full circle back to some of those silly reality TV shows that you're talking about.
Right.
All of those folks have offshoots from their
Right.
TV experiences to create money, whether it's, here's my cologne or whatever it is they create. Here's my pots and pans. Here's my pots and pans. They're better than their pots and pans because I'm on TV.
Right.
It's all stuff. It's all marketing and consumption. So when that TV show hit, we wanted to leverage it out into good education, which I'm proud to say we did, and I now continue to do, and then also some good deal flow. But it's interesting. You think if somebody appreciates the entertainment value of one of those TV shows, you would think they'd appreciate you as a person, but they don't. Every price that I paid for a piece of real estate went up after that. It didn't go down, right? It didn't go down. So it had its good and its bad, but it was definitely a good chapter of my life for sure.
So how many people work at your company?
We're a small company. We run primarily a tight ship at the executive level, and then everything works down from there. So depending on what we've got going on, assistants are always in play. But after that, you'll have your insurance companies, your construction, your realtors who are working independent, your blah, 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 blah. So at any one time, there could be 30, 40, 50 people in the matrix, but they're not all employees on my payroll. I've had employees.
Right.
And it's not my happy place to have employees.
Me too. I actually turned everybody into independent contractors, and I work
smart.
with other agents. I do have a virtual assistant in the Philippines, and I do have a transaction coordinator that I pay per deal. But I chose not to. At one point I had 4 employees, and the payroll stuff and all that just drove me crazy because it wasn't really what I do. So I changed my system up. So it sounds like you came to the same conclusions I did.
I'll tell you I did, absolutely. The one place where I got, beaten over the years was my marketing budget. There's so much noise in the marketplace. I don't have to say marketing budget is Charles Schwab or Fidelity, right? And they offer investment opportunities. So how do you compete with guys like that? You got to know the internet game, search engine optimization, all of that stuff. And if I had $1 million for every time somebody said, we'll get you to the top of the search, we'll get you this, we'll get you that, we'll get you leads, it's going to be great. Yay. If I'd have had that, I would have been not doing this podcast. I would have been floating around the Caribbean. But what I did do, and it took me a few scars to learn this, was in any journey, we touch elbows and we rub elbows with certain people who can, be a season, a reason, or a lifetime, right? What are they for? And a couple of guys that I know, trust, and love are probably some of the very, very best content creators and internet marketers. And I brought them in as a partner. And we have a really good revenue share between any education capital that comes in. It's a little bit, it's not a lot, but it's enough to get some good opportunities to then look at real estate and then include that marketing partner into your real estate. So I don't have to run a marketing company. I don't have to understand how the internet works. All I have to do is put my pretty face on a screen and say some stuff. And to be honest with you, I don't have to be the guy anymore. They've got an AI bot now that's Dave.
Oh Lord.
Oh
really?
Yeah,
Does it look just like you?
It does a great job. It took a while because the accent was a little bizarre. Like AI is not sure whether I was Australian, New Zealand, England, South America, French, Swedish. They didn't know who the hell I was. But once the AI algorithms dialed it in, and what's cool about that is I can deliver the same content in Spanish, Vietnamese. I can deliver it in Russian.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to check that out. I actually cool. I went back. I'm getting my PhD right now, and I for one of my assignments I was assigned an annotated bibliography, but I work like 80 or 90 hours a week in real estate. Yeah. So I was late getting to it, and so I asked AI to come up with a reading list for me, and it did, and it was perfect. And I thought, well, I've never cheated on anything in my entire life. I'm going to look at some of these books, so at least I can say I've read some. Yeah. And I found out that it had made up every single book on the list. And I was like, oh my Lord, this is unbelievable. And so then I asked AI, why did you do that? And it said, I wanted to please you.
That's interesting.
Okay, so you gotta watch out. You gotta watch out just a little.
Yeah, you gotta be careful. I tell you what, though, seeing as we opened up,
I gotta be.
How dare you, loser? You gotta be. You'd appreciate my 15-year-old. He gets incredibly upset if he only gets an A and not an A+. What I have noted, and I see more and more and more of it, is think about our collegiate levels, right? The education students will pay for, whether they're going to SoCal, whether they're going to Harvard and some of our colleges here in Massachusetts. Right. Think about it, right? Think about that expense. And I'm not going to bring down education because education is critical, but its value of implementation in the marketplace, I think, is very slim.
No, absolutely.
Right. And what I mean by that is that with the prevalence of AI now, I can find out pretty much anything. And I can read it in black and white, which is generally what we do in the education space. We learn some information and then we regurgitate it later on. And they say, oh, you're smart. You remembered everything. Yes, there's conversation at the collegiate level. Yes, there's university, thesis, et cetera, et cetera. I get all of that. But what if you could just get that base education and now do your implementation in the marketplace instead of in a pretend environment, right? Bring in that. So that's what I get excited about. It shortens that learning curve so that we can have those discussions.
And it's good for that. I mean, I'm old and I'll be like 80 by the time I'm done with my PhD, but the point is I'm doing it for the beauty of knowledge and the beauty of learning.
Yes.
Beauty of learning critical thinking. It has absolutely nothing to do with my ability to make money. I mean, what I do for fun is play classical music and I'm a theater director and playwright. So and I know that those things don't make money.
So I know that you and I were friends. So when I was 18 years old back in London, I auditioned for the top theater schools in London. Mm-hmm. I auditioned for RADA, the Royal Academy, LAMDA, the London Academy. Yep. And I went to Webber Douglas Academy of the Performing Arts in South Kensington in London, where I learned to be a thespian and a Shakespearean actor, et cetera, et cetera. So a lot of that talent, if it is talent, has done well in business as well.
I have a theory about that. My theory is that you could take all the out-of-work actors in America and you could create real estate companies all across America because theater people, we're lovely. We're innate people pleasers. We want people to like us. We want, and we're very disciplined and we know how to work. Every single wonderful thing. As a matter of fact, I've written a book called Realizations based on this podcast, but it's how to be a real estate agent. And I take the principles of what it is to be an actor, finding your part, and I break it down into how you can systematically implement a career as a real estate agent, being an actor.
So good. And here's why that's so good. I'm going to put a cherry on it, if you would allow me. The reason that is so good, as an actor, as a thespian, our goal is to get into the mind, get into the emotion, get into the action, the expectations of another person. And then we bring that on as a character. Once that skill set is fine-tuned, that really is the true essence of sales. Absolutely. Is understanding what that person, what do they want? Not what you want.
Exactly.
Those wants and desires in any kind of business transaction take second place to your customer, your client, your service, whatever it is going on. Yeah. So it's not easy either because actors love to talk. And if you're talking, you're not listening. So it takes a little work.
And the biggest skill set is learning how to listen because listening is everything. Listening is everything. You can figure out what it is the person really is attempting to say, what it is they really want. Then you know how to address it. Same thing, by the way, with closing. Most realtors don't know how to close. Most realtors, they've been basically brainwashed into thinking that they are just trusted advisors. And the reality is most people have to be slightly pushed off a cliff to do anything. Nobody ever wants nobody wants to spend $1 million. Nobody ever wants to, the look on the face of a buyer who finds a house that they actually want to buy is not one of ecstasy. It's one of, oh, crap.
Terror.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Because because then they start putting obstacles in front of themselves on stop themselves from doing it. And your job is to stop those obstacles from stopping them from doing the thing that you know is the right thing for them to do for themselves. So
I love that. I love it. I'm with you. I'm a convert. You have me. You had me at hello, Andrea.
Bless your heart.
No, it's good. It's good.
We are at time at this point, and I wanted to, if somebody wants to find you, and this has been a really fascinating conversation, and I really appreciate you. If somebody wants to find you in your company, how do they find you in your company?
Yeah, look, if you want to learn the business of multifamily investing, you can do that with us at legacyalliance.club. Free resources, couple of books. We dumb it down. We keep it as simple as we can so that we don't get an overwhelm in the nuances. We'll take care of that with one-on-one conversation as we're going along. We also have an opportunity to partner with us through that, an alliance program that we run for those that graduate from our education platforms. If you're already an investor and you want to spend some time getting to know us, then you can go to Freedom Venture, which is our investment arm, freedomventure.com. And I'm sure my team will give you all kinds of links and freebies and stuff. And again, it's not my wheelhouse, but if people like free gifts, I'm sure my guys have got some stuff lined up for you, Andrea. So yeah.
Oh, most wonderful. You've been just a delightful guest. I really appreciate you. And I love your story. It's a beautiful real estate story. So thank you, Dave. I hope our paths cross again. And if you ever have anybody for the Bay Area, I'm your gal.
I know where to go. Go. Thank you.
Take good care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you for joining me on this episode of the Realizations Podcast. I hope our conversation has shed light on the true essence of real estate and the people behind it. As we wrap up, I want to extend my gratitude to our listeners for their support and engagement. Your feedback drives the heart of this podcast, and I look forward to continuing this journey with you. If you enjoyed today's episode, please consider subscribing to the Realizations Podcast and leaving a review. Your support helps us reach more listeners and spread our message of positivity in the real estate industry. Until next time, remember to keep an open mind, embrace empathy, and always seek the good in every situation. I'm Andrea Gordon signing off from Realizations. See you next time.